In today's classic cartridge segment, we have a little game called Eternal Champions. Now, when I tweeted about this game and I Instagrammed it, everyone freaked out.
Yeah.
Freaked out about this game because they were so excited that we were going to review it. And I gotta say, that got the bar pretty high for me. And then I jumped into the game and realized maybe it wasn't so great.
A little bit of hubris with Eternal in the title of this game, because this was a Sega game that came out for the Genesis back in 1993. And Sega was doing something pretty innovative here. They wanted to build a fighting game that would compete with the likes of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, but it wasn't based on an arcade game. It was a purely and strictly a home console release.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good in that measure, but it just couldn't stack up to the juggernauts of Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. Those are better developed titles than this game.
Well, those are huge games, and also they developed a reputation for themselves by being in the arcades, and everyone was playing these games in the arcades. So when you're jumping into a brand new, fresh game on your console, I guess you're expecting something more, and you don't really get that with this one, especially now that I've played so many amazing fighting games. Going back to something like this is pretty... Well, I don't want to say devastating, that's too harsh of a word, because there are some elements here that are okay.
Well, the thing that I wanted to do with this segment was to go back and see how much of this stuff kind of holds up, and it is amazing, even though the animation is a little shoddy and, you know, the fighting mechanics are a little tough. I mean, it's one of those games where it doesn't let up right from the beginning. You're getting beat in the first match against the first opponent that you fight.
I was getting beat in the tutorial section.
Yeah,
I was getting my ass handed to me.
Yeah, it doesn't flow. It doesn't really sort of elegantly introduce you into the mechanics at all, but it does have some pretty good fundamentals. And if you've got Street Fighter cred, if you've got Mortal Kombat kind of skills, if you're a fighting game you know, guru, you're going to have some fun, I think, going through this one, because it has some pretty interesting characters. They're all kind of like superheroes that have been thrown from different time periods. You actually can play as a caveman in this game with a big club. You can use the club like a baseball bat, which is kind of hilarious.
But that's what I love about this game, is the actual compelling stories behind each character, because they all have something very unique about them, which is interesting, and there's no bad or evil character. That's another really interesting thing. It's like, why are they fighting each other then if they're not bad? No one is evil. It doesn't really play into their stories, but there's this eternal champion that's brought them all together to do good in the world.
Yeah, and to you see who is the toughest of them all kind of thing. I liked Larson. He reminded me a little bit of the Shadow.
Right.
You know, he's kind of like this gothic thief that has a grappling hook and can clamber along on the ceiling, then jump down and hit everybody.
Yeah, I mean, Jenna Max is kind of cool. She used to be in the circus. I mean, I love their backstory. She's from 1989, and I mean, I just love that these stories are sussed out with the characters. But again, just playing the game, it's not exciting. Even, I mean, they have these finishing moves in there as well that you just feel like they ripped off of Mortal Kombat.
They're called overkills, and they are incredibly gruesome and violent, and it feels a little incongruous because this is almost Comic Zone kind of caliber comic book art for a lot of these characters, and you know, there are characters that look like they were taken or lifted or borrowed right from DC or Marvel's comic books.
Sure.
They're not. They're all created expressly for this title, but then they have these just disgusting, you know, killer finishing moves at the end of everything, which is kind of crazy.
And then some of them are supposed to be allies in the end, so why would you do that to your ally? It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but a lot of fighting games don't. This is one of those titles. I liked playing it. I did like re-experiencing it. I don't think that this is one that you have to rush out and collect, and you can find it in a myriad of different ways. What are you going to give Eternal Champions?
I'm sorry, it's getting a 5.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 5.5.